I'm so happy you changed your beanie color.
I did. Do you love that?
Yeah, because the other turquoise one, we have it too often in our feed.
It actually kind of matches my shirt.
Yeah, you need a little bit more light.
More light?
Yeah, can you get like,
How's
yeah,
that?
yeah,
I look a little like,
it's mood lighting.
yeah, do I look okay?
Does, if you think Bradshaw looks okay, give us a
Wait,
thumbs
wait, wait,
up.
wait. Oh shit, now I just unplugged it. Fuck. Welcome to Kaya Yoga School.
Okay.
Okay. Oh shit.
We're going to start talking in a moment for those of you that
Okay.
are here about imposter syndrome. So this is our weekly Wednesday live where Bradshaw and I get together and we talk about a topic of interest to us, usually about yoga, and we will relate this discussion to yoga. But this week we wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, and actually Bradshaw wanted to talk about it more than I did. So if I'm being honest, I'm the one who probably experiences it way more often. But
Oh,
Bradshaw,
we were talking about it earlier. I feel it in like different ways.
yeah, well, what do you want to define imposter syndrome and like introduce it a little bit?
I think it's the like for me when I hear imposter syndrome, it's the fear of not being good enough
Hmm.
at its simplest form, right?
Of
Like not
being like caught as a fraud, the fear of like being
exactly
unmasked for for something other.
unmasked.
Yeah. Some unmasked COVID. Haha.
You ever heard of it?
Okay. So ever heard of it? Yeah. Um Hi everyone. This is the most people we've had live.
It's great as people leave.
um
Yeah.
So, Bradshaw, do you have imposter syndrome?
I think I secretly have imposter syndrome. So I think that I have definitely, when I first started teaching, had a fear that I didn't know enough and that I was scared that people would know I didn't know enough, when I was teaching.
Mhm.
I don't feel that way as much now because I spent a lot of time on further education. I think that it's very common for people to come out of a 200-hour yoga teacher training and not feel as if they have all the tools to teach. Because honestly, I mean, it's only 200 hours. I think it's for me, I actually think it's not enough hours to feel comfortable
So, so
teaching
maybe that is
further.
an imposter syndrome there. You're like, actually, you are an imposter.
Yeah.
No, we don't
Yeah.
really, we don't believe that about our program because
No, we
I want to set that straight. We've designed our 200 hours so that we make sure everyone feels comfortable teaching, but I think it comes from that, like from our experience in 200 hour when we were going through it. I felt the same way, but I also totally have imposter syndrome because I am a just high. I think it's very common in people who are like high achievers and perfectionists. And
well, you went to Carnegie Mellon.
okay, we had to bring it up. We had to bring it up once a week. But even when I went to Carnegie Mellon, like I didn't think I deserved to go to Carnegie Mellon. I was like,
Really?
yeah, like I thought I was gonna be the dumbest one there, that people would like find out that I shouldn't have actually gotten in. So,
I bet a
I
lot of
mean,
people that go feel that way.
that's imposter syndrome. Like you don't feel deserving of success or any of the um, accolades, or you don't recognize any achievements. And I know I do this still. I've always, even though the term imposter syndrome has been around since like I think the 70s or whatever, um, I didn't know this term for it until I think the last couple of years. I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, been one of those like
Words,
Yeah, like
words.
trendy words, hearing about it on podcasts or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. I have that. So when I didn't take my first yoga teacher training until after practicing yoga for 10 years. And I was the only person in my yoga teacher training who like knew what a sun salutation A was, knew what a sun salutation B was. Like I knew the general arcing structure of a class just because I had a really consistent, proficient practice. And even though I went into the 200-hour training knowing a lot of Sanskrit and these sequences, I still didn't think I knew enough. And when I finished, I didn't think that I was ready to teach, even though I totally could have. And even the feedback that I got on my practice teach in my 200-hour was, yeah, it was good. And I was like, I need to know more. Why, like, what can I improve? That's the thing I asked every single person is like, what can I work on? How could I make it better? Like, no, it's good. And I was like, that doesn't help me. Like, I needed to know, I needed criticism to like make me better.
Constructive.
And constructive. But I also went to art school and like critiquing is part of it. So I
Yeah, it's
think
part of the
that
exposing.
informs a lot. Yeah, we would like sit around each other's paintings and like pick them apart, and then I never thought I could paint again. Like it's literally why I like don't paint anymore, is because people critiqued it to death that I'm like, I'm not a
That's
painter.
sad.
Uh, it is sad. But I recognize it, and
So you never want to sit down
I
and
think,
paint at all?
oh my God, if I'm being totally honest, if anyone on here is watching this from Carnegie Mellon, that program was so not beneficial for me.
It wasn't.
Probably for any of us, it like mentally like tore you down and made you feel like you can't do anything because it's not like
But don't you think that's part of
conceptual.
like, I'm like Kiefer would say the same thing because Kiefer went to art school, and
Yeah,
he would be like, draw a circle on a paper. This is what it means. Like it was all about the meaning behind the
yeah,
art. What if there's no? What if the meaning is to be discovered by the person who views it?
that's totally valid. But when you're like presenting something in art school, you can. Oh my God, we're gonna get really off topic with this. I was just about to like use a Deschamps like example of like the Armut toilet urinal, like it is what it is sort of thing. Like you can say this is art and whatever, as long as I think it goes back to confidence and like identifying with whatever it is that you're doing with certainty. Then it's totally fine. Art is suffering. Cody, tell me about it. So I left the art world. I went on to get a master's in art, and then I left that world because it literally just like tore me down. And I carried it over to the yoga stuff because I didn't
Mm.
teach for a while because I was like, oh, I need to know more. I need to know more.
But
I need to know more. Like
also like,
when am I qualified enough?
don't you think that's common within the yoga industry though, that people are like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Like I feel like that's common for a 200-hour.
I think it's very common you hear that from students, but before you become a teacher, or before you step into that role, if you decide to, I think the perception from as a student, or what I thought when I was just a student, is that everyone knew so much. Like I overestimated and like put on a pedestal how much I thought others knew, that I think it can feel a little bit intimidating or disabling, or like it disqualified me because I must not know as much as they know. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's a big part of imposter syndrome, is that you think others are more qualified than you. And that's why you think you'll be like found out or caught.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
interesting, the
froze a
yoga
little bit.
industry.
Yeah. So I think, we've talked about imposter syndrome. We talked about how totally have it. I have to tell you something that's really helped me with it. And I didn't realize how helpful this would be until like making other yoga teacher friends. And by friends, I mean you. But it really, you have really helped me a lot, whether you know it or not. Um, like even for our C.A.Y.A stuff, every time I make something, like I made the manual or like I made this graphic or I made the website, and like I don't see that as an achievement or like I don't see that as like good work. I just like keep having to do more and more and more. And you'll like look at it and you're like, whoa, this is really good. Like this is so impressive. So like every time I think you've like sat me down and like set like you like have even asked me like, aren't you really proud? And then I'd be like, no. Like, like
Mm.
I'm not. I wasn't feeling proud until you like told me that this is something I should be proud of, and then I started to recognize it. So I think that's really having someone who can like ground you and
100%.
like shine that mirror to you is really helpful. And a lot of times in the yoga world we're like we working so independently and we might not get that all the time. So if you feel the same way, find someone to be your like yoga buddy.
Well, I think about like the 200-hour training. I'm like, oh, we did it. And Keeper's like, you just graduated 17 teachers or however many. I think it was 17. He's like,
17,
that's
yeah.
amazing. He's like, that's amazing. And it's like sometimes it's hard to when you're like trying to like when you're doing the work and you're anxious about like, oh my God, is this going to work out? Is this going to be okay? And then it ends. I think that there's a lack of sometimes enjoyment of the success.
For sure. For me,
I
I
mean, just
think
like
I'm like always thinking that,
relishing. Well, because now you're always thinking next. You're like, okay, what about the next training? Or like people going to
yeah,
come? Or like, like there's all those thoughts.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're totally not therapists. We're gonna stay in our
We
scope
aren't?
and like give. We're no, we're not therapists unless you have something to tell me.
No, 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 I don't. I
No.
definitely, I have a therapist, but I don't.
I think if you can identify with what we've been discussing on imposter syndrome, talking to a therapist is really helpful. But I think we could give like a couple of like tips or things that I have found that have been useful for me and like and they are yoga teachings as well. Like one of them is just to be really kind to yourself, ahimsa, like try to notice when you are having negative self-talk and like literally notice it, observe it. And I literally like to ask myself, this is like what's her name, Byron Katie. If you don't know Byron Katie, look her up. Amazing. She always says when you have like a negative thought or an intrusive thought or whatever it is, first thing you do is ask yourself, is it true? And like start from there. Like, is this absolutely true? Do I know that this is certain?
Mm.
And so like question that thought. So that's the first thing I usually do when I have this sort of experience. But also I think about ahimsa. Like how can I be kinder to myself when I notice that I'm like creating an act of violence against myself mentally. Um,
Can I also add one?
yeah.
I think another big thing too is that when you're in that space of, do I know enough? And you're doing the act of educating yourself in that process, it's like there's always more to learn, right? Like I don't know
Yeah.
everything about yoga. I'm like in the process of learning more and more and doing more trainings and connecting with more people. It's like that is the act of knowing more. Is like exploration. So like instead of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're not enough or you don't know enough, you can just be very transparent about that and be like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in the process of learning about all this stuff and I'm really enjoying it and I love this job. I love this work. So I'm still in the
Yeah.
process of educating myself. The people that think they have enough education and it's over are the ones that are fucked. And I really
Yeah.
believe that.
You've always been really, you've been really good about being like honest and open about like, I'm not sure, let's look that up.
Oh, yeah.
And I
I
think
mean,
that
like, there have been times in 200-hour trainings where they ask me questions. I'm like, I don't know.
you're like, go ask Gianna.
You're so sassy.
I'm just kidding. No, but that's a really,
Gracie, we
really,
love you. We love Gracie. Sorry. We're
I'm
obsessed with,
obsessed. I'm
we're obsessed with
obsessed
all of
with
our
Roxy.
students, but we love Gracie. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I think talking to someone like a mentor, a friend, if you're in a different working situation, a manager, I think that'll really help. Let them show you your success. Um, be kind to yourself. You can have a little bit of just like, know that you don't need to know everything, like Bradshaw said, and like have a little bit of humility that we're humans, we're still learning. And I think another point that goes along with that is just that you're not alone. Like we don't all have
Huge. I think
imposter
that's actually
syndrome.
the biggest one.
Yeah, so you're not
No, I
alone
think
in
that, I
this.
think,
Like no one knows. What's that?
sorry. I think it's very common for yoga teachers to feel that way and like
Mm-hmm.
realize every yoga teacher feels that way.
Yeah.
Not every, but I think the majority of yoga teachers feel that way in their journey of teaching. I really do.
Yeah. I think I was telling you this. I'm scared to say this out loud, but I'm going to because I think it'll be helpful. Like I've been doing the Thursday quizzes on the C.A.Y.A account, and I don't, so many people respond to those. I don't read every single response. If you get things wrong, I don't care. Who cares? This is just like a fun thing.
I get
But
things
one
wrong.
thing that I know Bradshaw Bradshaw gets a
You
lot
like you
wrong.
failed the
But
quiz.
some
I try to get a lot wrong. Sometimes I just try to mess with you.
I have to troll you at least twice per chat. No, but something that to know that we're not alone. Like I get things wrong, you get things wrong, but seeing other yoga teachers who I admire and respect get things wrong too, because like I have this expectation of myself, and when I don't meet it, I'm like, but everyone else is up here. And so it's helped bring a little bit of grounding to this thing that I think everyone's like up here. You know? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do. I would like to add something to this just as a
Sure.
support for you.
Okay.
Gianna is extremely intelligent. She knows more about yoga than I do. You really do. I think you really do. I think I may know a little bit more about like teaching and the business of yoga, but like you are, what are you laughing at?
I I'm flattered, but I'm gonna tell a funny story after. Go on. I love
Okay,
this.
that's it. That's it. That's all I was gonna say. We're gonna just
So
hang out.
you were just you just wanted to say that I know a lot. Um, so I'm flattered. That was really sweet. Bradshaw does know a lot about business, and I like
We have
text
different.
and ask him a million
We have
questions about
very
that
different
stuff.
skills. Sorry, we have very different sets.
But I started laughing because the way you started saying this reminded me of the time that we were in a class with Jason Crandall, and our mats were like this far apart, and we were practicing next to each other. In the middle of class, Bradshaw like taps me and he goes, it just like took me out of the flow, but made me laugh hysterically. You go, I think you're more flexible than I am. Like, like you're really flexible and graceful, but like I'm stronger.
This is actually,
And
wait,
I
can I
was
just
like,
say something? Can I just say something?
yeah,
Because I think that this is
yeah.
something I talk about all the time in class. This is like a topic I bring up all the time. I think that, and this is something I struggle, not struggle with, but I work on in terms of like my teaching style and how I approach yoga. There is a sense of yoga that should be playful and fun. And there is also a sense there's a place that it should be taken seriously. Like this is not a joke. It's something we're trying to make fun of. But I think that we should have that balance of like playfulness and seriousness. Sorry, that's just like maybe I'm going off topic, but
No,
yeah.
it's true because I think when you're in a playful state, it takes you out of the like monkey mind that
Yeah,
we're
you're like
working
you
to
said like
you,
obsessing. It's like just move and breathe and like I know that sounds so trite, like be yourself, but it's just like I don't know. I think that like people need education. This is something I talk about all the time in class. You need education. Like I hope there's an educational element and a sense of like this is a break from your day and you're just moving and breathing.
yeah, totally. Are you frozen? I can't tell when you're freezing or not because
No, I'm
there's like
just
the tiniest delay, but you're good.
this outfit's really cute.
So other ways that I think it could be helpful to cope with imposter syndrome is just to recognize it. This is probably like the first thing. Like just know when it's happening and being like, okay, this is what's happening.
Well, you also
You
said
know?
something early, which I think is really important, which is like go to therapy. And I don't mean that in like
Yeah.
a joking way. I mean like no, honestly, like get
Yeah.
help and like figure out how your mind works. And when you figure out how your mind works, things are better.
Yeah. So, and then you just start to, like with all things, when you become introspective, you know how you respond to them, how you will deal with them, and you're better at like self-soothing or whatever it is that has become your mechanism to deal with that. You'll pull it all together. Um, Another thing that I think that is helpful is tracking your success. So like I think that's the thing that's hardest for people with imposter syndrome to do because they don't recognize their success. But once it's brought to your attention or once you're able to like look at things in a way where you can analyze whether or not something is or isn't a success, you can embrace it a little bit more and like put it in that
100%.
box, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try to do for
And
you
then
because I think you're really talented.
I know, and that's what made me think of it because you actually, more than anyone else, you always ask me, I'm like, do I do, am I the best looking gay friend you have?
And the answer is always what? Yes.
Yes, yes. Or like whatever random question that you'll just ask that has nothing to do with
I'm here over
whatever
here.
we're usually talking about. You are the person or the friend or the colleague, the business partner that has helped me the most with imposter syndrome in all seriousness.
Well, you're also really fucking talented. I'm not just saying that. Like, Gianna has like a skill set that is so impressive. Um, that is like, it's like, I've seen many 200-hour manuals, like so many. But like when I saw ours, and when I mean ours, I mean Gianna's because she made it, um, is fucking impressive. Like it's impressive, Gigi.
But like I find one typo and I'm like, throw it out.
Oh my God. On that note, good luck. Let's talk after this because we need to
That's
talk more about
no, no,
what you're
no.
going
But that's
through.
perfect. That's perfectionism. That's my Virgo. That's my perfectionism. That's
I'm an
all of that.
Aquarius. Can you
Um,
tell?
you're, yeah. It was very Aquarius of you to say that.
Okay.
The last thing that I can think of ways that are helpful to just cope with imposter syndrome is just saying yes to opportunities because I think a lot of times we like stunt
Think we're
our
not
own.
ready.
Yeah, because you think you're not ready, or like for me, I would have never started teaching if I didn't get forced into it. And I was legitimately forced into it. The teacher didn't show up. The owner of the studio called me because I worked there as an admin and just said, teach this class. And I was not ready. I was not going to do it. Um, but I
Where
felt like,
am
oh God,
I? Can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you and see you.
You see me? I can't see myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry, that's weird.
do you see yourself now?
Yeah,
No? Well, just enjoy the view of me.
I do see myself.
Okay, fine. But yeah, if I didn't get thrown into teaching, I would have never taught on my own. And
Hmm.
other opportunities, like I wouldn't have probably done a couple of other the opportunities that I have gotten. So say yes to those opportunities, give yourself a chance, know you're qualified. You're probably more qualified than you think you are. And this is actually something that is really helpful to me. And this, I don't know how to say this in like a nice, in a sugar coated way, but when you meet someone who just doesn't impress you at all in a certain role, it's sometimes like, oh, well, if that person could do this. And I don't mean to like say this
Yeah,
in
that
like a
you
shaming
can
or
do it.
judgmental term, but yeah, but it's sometimes that we're so critical of ourselves that we undermine our abilities. So seeing someone who is doing something that you can totally do, like where you can recognize that you can totally do that helps. And usually you recognize that you can do that because you're downplaying the like skill that that takes. So it's more of this like an internal thing. So I'm not saying that person sucks. I'm saying because you think that it has to be like here, but you're seeing someone who you're measuring here, you're like, oh, I can do it. So it's all about this weird skewed perception. It's literally a cognitive distortion. So
She went to Carnegie Mellon. She went to Carnegie Mellon, everyone. She went to Carnegie Mellon. All right, I love you.
so to wrap this up, you're not alone. Be nice to yourself. Track your success. Get a mentor, get a friend, go to therapy, let
We can be
go of
your mentor. We'll help
perfectionism.
you out.
We will help you out. If you are interested in teaching yoga, you will not feel like an imposter coming out of our program.
We love you.
We love everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.